So here's the bodice part so far. I feel very 90s-esque Chandler Bing shirt and vest combo. And I'm just rambling. I'm probably going to cut out most of this out of this video anyway. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited for you guys to be here watching this. So I have this Simplicity pattern here with this dress length, and I'm using this mustard yellow. Looks kind of orangey in this light, but it's a mustard yellow and plaid fabric that I also picked up at Hobby Lobby. It's a cotton linen blend, super soft. If you have been on my Facebook or my Instagram and have been on my stories, then you've seen where I've already finished the dress. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our sewing project. This Simplicity pattern was very easy to follow with clearly laid out instructions. Let's go ahead and cut the pattern pieces right out about now. There were several pieces for this project, but as the instructions were clearly stated, it was easy to keep up with them. I did make little marks with the fabric marker as to which piece was which and any special notes about seam allowance adjustments. To start with this project, I skipped ahead to step 2. With the bodice pieces already laid out, I traced the dart lines using the markings from the pattern pieces. After I traced the dart lines, I pinned along those lines to keep my darts even. After this, we can go to the sewing machine. And now that we're at the sewing machine, we can go back to step 1, which is stay stitching the neckline on the bodice front and back pieces. I was so excited that this said stay stitching in both the instructions and the diagram. When sewing the dart in place, I didn't backstitch at the end of the dart. I backstitched in the beginning, just not at the end. I ran off the stitch and then tied my threads off to keep the dart from having the little awkward bubble that can sometimes happen. After this, I applied fusible interfacing to 2 of the 4 placket pieces. I love that word, placket. These 2 placket pieces are pinned to the right side of the front bodice pieces. Little did I realize at the time though, I had the placket pieces on the wrong side of the bodice front and they were on backwards. When I did realize this, I did have to go back and seam rip the pieces off. Ripped a little bit of my heart out at the same time. I fixed them though, and then this project continued on pretty smoothly. The other 2 placket pieces became the placket facings for the bodice. I pressed under the raw edges of one side of the facings and then pinned them right sides together to the placket. Both sides of the placket did have 3/8 inch seam allowance, and I did mark this on the fabric so I would remember. After completing each step, I serged the raw edges to give the dress a nice finished look. I then understitched the facing on the bodice front to keep it from rolling to the outside and making the dress look a little bit more professional. When this was finished, it was time to pin the front to the back with the right sides together. I matched the notches at the shoulders and the side seams and pinned them in place. These will be sewn together with the 5/8 inch seam allowance. Now one of the neckband pieces will get interfacing to the wrong side. This is pinned to the top of the bodice, right sides together, and sewn also with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. The other neckband piece is used as the neckband facing. The notched edge is pressed under with the right sides together, and it is pinned and sewn to the neckband, also with a 3/8 inch seam. The curves are clipped, the facing is turned to the inside, pinned from the outside, and stitched in place. And the sleeves are the last step on the bodice for now. The sleeves are gathered between the dots on the sleeve top, and the sleeve band is sewn together. After I serge the bottom of the sleeve, it is pressed up slightly for a very narrow hem. The bodice is now set aside until it is time to attach it to the skirt. Speaking of the skirt, while working on it, we're going to pin the side, front, and back pieces to the skirt front and back. We're going to match the notches on the sides, stitch them, and press out the seams. Now we can add the pockets to the skirt side pieces. We can pin the pockets to the sides edges, matching the large dots. Press the seam toward the pocket after it is sewn and press the pocket out. Understitch the front pockets to keep the pocket lining from wanting to roll out when the garment is finished. After, pin the front to the back at the side edges, also matching up the large dots. Stitch the side seams, but leave the openings at the dots. Base the upper edge of the pocket to the skirt front, having the raw edges even. We can now go back to the bodice and base the right of the placket over the left along the lower edge. With right sides together, pin the skirt to the bodice, matching the centers, notches, and side seams. After doing this, create a casing at the waistline for the elastic to go through. Stitch the bodice and skirt seams allowance together 1/4 inch from the raw edge across the back between the side seams, and this will create your casing. Before this project, I had purchased a bodkin for feeding the elastic through casings. It holds more securely than a safety pin, and it was extremely easy to use. I didn't have to worry about the bodkin coming undone like a safety pin can sometimes come undone inside a casing. After feeding the elastic through though, I did stitch along the side seams, making sure to catch the elastic in those seams. To finish up this dress, I sewed on bias tape to the bottom, creating a nice finished hem. After that, I had about 30 minutes of being extremely frustrated that my buttonhole foot was not working and the thread tried making a rat's nest. I did manage to get the buttonholes made, and off camera I attached the buttonholes and the dress was finished. Ta-da! There's the dress. It turned out beautifully. There are a couple things though that I would probably change about them if I could. I might eventually go in and cut out some of the sides and take it in a little bit more, because I used my measurements from the last outfit that I made with my overalls, and it ended up being too big with this dress. Even with the elastic waistband in the back to kind of cinch it in a little bit, it was still too big. And I didn't need to have the buttons. I could just slip the dress on and off over the top of my head. Overall, I think everything turned out great. That was it. So everything is done, and now I have a clean slate for projects that I want to do. I do know I have a couple more fall projects I want to do. My goal is to get out 2 videos a month to allow me at least 2 weeks to work on, edit, and finish projects before I post them. So I am so glad that I'm able to do that. If you have not, you should give this video a like. That would really help me out getting my video out there in the algorithm for people to see how to do other sewing projects like this. I would really love to share it with other people. If you want to see more, you should check out one of these videos that's right over here on the side here, and it'll be one of the most recent videos that I have actually uploaded. And if you have not, you really should. You should click up here and subscribe to my channel so you'll be notified when I have new content available. I really hope to see you guys in the next one, and I cannot wait. Bye!